Good afternoon on this lovely sunny day here in the UK. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So I thought I'd go live today because I have to tell you about things that have been going on with the people in and around SciTrek hey Josh, how you doing? People in and around MGM that I speak to. So I told you last week in a very short video while I was on my holidays that Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, who are the chairman of the motion pictures for MGM and the motion picture group president, basically the two top people for MGM motion pictures in particular, but they really are the top two executives, have resigned. But they didn't really as much resign as get pushed out. Mike Hopkins, who is a big executive for Amazon, released a statement not long afterwards saying that basically their departure has paved the way for MGM to be merged and to become a part of Amazon and Amazon Pictures. Now, this has royally annoyed MGM employees that I speak to, because they've been telling me for a long time now that actually Amazon had been making lots and lots of promises. They've been promising that there would be no job losses, that there would be an element of independence stayed within MGM, that MGM would be able to continue to make its own business arrangements and continue to do projects that it wants to do, that basically Amazon were just going to act like a parent company and they weren't going to interfere too much with what MGM wanted to do. There was repeated memos apparently sent around MGM from these executives, actually from Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, telling the MGM employees that Amazon just wanted them to carry on doing their good work, that MGM was the home of some of the world's greatest storytellers, and that's what Amazon were buying, that they were not going to tear MGM apart or absorb it into Amazon Pictures. So what's changed? Well, Mike Hopkins, in other statements this week, has blamed the pandemic. Of course he's blamed the pandemic, because why wouldn't you? He's basically said that in 2000, when this deal began, they had no clue that we were about to go through a pandemic that would basically shut down the entire film industry for 12 months. And that's a fair comment. None of us knew that was going to happen, obviously, but it did. That has had a massive financial impact. However, initially Amazon and all of the other streaming services actually did very well out of the pandemic because we weren't allowed to go out, so we stayed home. We all booked onto Amazon Prime. Netflix had a massive spike. HBO Max in the US had a massive spike. All of these streaming services, Disney Plus, for example, really enjoyed the bump from the fact that none of us were allowed out. However, in the last 6 to 12 months, that's plateaued. There are no new, the growth of all of these streaming services has slowed significantly. And actually Amazon, again, who had a massive spike in business early on in the pandemic because we weren't allowed to go to shops, so we bought everything off Amazon, stopped. And their actual sale price and their share price has plummeted quite significantly in the last few months. This is now all being used as an excuse on why MGM is not going to follow through with its promises. Okay, so why did Amazon buy MGM? So if we just quickly talk about that, and then I'm going to explain to you what is actually going on here. Because Amazon or MGM isn't quite the company I thought it was, or I'd assumed it was. So this has got to go back to 1948 now, so but bear with me for a second. In 1948, there was a big legal case in the United States. It's called the Paramount case. It basically, it went as high as the Supreme Court. So this was a serious case. It ordered film studios to stop buying theaters and cinemas. And they had chains, all the big studios had big chains of theaters. It ordered them to stop doing that because those chains and theaters that it owned, either it owned or through deals, only showed their movies. So MGM had a series of these theaters, Paramount did, Disney did, and so on and so on. The Supreme Court ordered that was actually against fair play rules and ordered them to separate. Now, this impacted MGM significantly, because actually one of the original owners of MGM was a theatre owner. He owned a lot of theatres. They were making 52 films a year, basically releasing a film a week in California, Culver City Studios in California. It was as big as anything Warner Brothers had or Disney and so on and so on. It was a huge site, creating lots of films all at once. 1948, this saw a massive impact on that, of their ability to release films in a way that they liked. They basically lost a large part of their focus on that area. That all of a sudden there was competition. Over the next 10 years and 15 years as well, television became very popular and everyone started watching TV instead. And that really ended the golden age of cinema. So all of the big studios had a decision to make. Warner Brothers actually expanded their studio lots, but they started making TV shows and they started renting out studio space. Disney doubled down and they spent a lot of their money on the Disney World, Disneyland, and created the brand through that. And they also really heavily invested into television. MGM didn't. MGM sold the Culver studio. Just a second, Amazon has some spare change and they want to rule the world. Amazon, a brand new toy, and they want to play with it all by themselves. Well, I'm going to get into that in a second. But they sold Culver Studios, and they sold a lot of it to real estate. They built a lot of housing, and what was left, they sold to Sony Pictures in '68, I think it was. Sorry. So Sony Pictures now own that studio, and it's still Sony Pictures Studios today. MGM took that money and they started the casino chain. So they built the MGM Grand and things like this, and they really invested heavily in that area. When they then went on in the 80s to have further financial problems, the studio part of MGM and the resort side of MGM got separated. So they're now two completely different entities. MGM Resorts is still owned by the company that bought them back then. MGM Studios and all of the related companies to that is now owned by Amazon. This had a massive impact on MGM's ability, and obviously really was the start of all their financial problems today. But it also is relevant to today because I always assumed Amazon was buying MGM because of the studios, because Amazon's movies doesn't have its own studios. It produces movies through partnerships with other studios. It rents space from Warner Brothers, it rents space at Pinewood Studios and things like this. So I thought it was investing in a studio company, and an old-fashioned studio that actually land and actually somewhere to actually produce films. It's not true. They don't. Amazon were always very clear that the main reason they were buying MGM was for the intellectual properties. It's the stuff MGM owns. It's all the movies and TV shows and things like this. It owns the intellectual rights to those. Actual buildings MGM owns is very limited. It basically owns its headquarters in California, in Beverly Hills, and not a lot else. I always assumed, at very least, it owned the 007 stage studio at Pinewood Studios. It doesn't. It's only named the 007 stage because traditionally that's where the Bond films are made, and it was actually built for The Spy Who Loved Me. It's one of Europe's or one of the world's largest sound stages. It doesn't even own that, and it's got no rights to it at all. Disney now actually rents that soundstage and just had a big deal with Pinewood Studios to take on most of the hello Ellie, how are you doing? To do most of its movies out of there. I mean, very proud to be British, actually. We make a lot of Hollywood blockbusters in this country. Pinewood Studios has actually gone on now to become a multinational company. It's still a private company, a private studio. It rents space out to other studios that make these movies. But this situation occurred because of, I'm going to get onto Stargate in 1 minute, Darker, because they are going to. So, the situation is basically that MGM as an entity is really virtual. There are no nuts and bolts. There are no buildings. It's people, basically, and not many of them. So Amazon, when they bought MGM, they were just really buying the name. They were just buying the brand. Now, early on, they promised that they were going to invest in that brand, allow it to expand. Stargate is relevant to that because that was a big part of this 3-point plan that they wanted to run with. Bond, Stargate, and then starting looking at the intellectual properties and hoping to bring back some of those projects. The thing that's going to slow down Stargate coming back now is that Amazon have completely changed their minds about how to move forwards with MGM. And they're going back on all the things they told the MGM employees that they were going to do. Exactly, Movie Manson. So they just wanted the IP. They did lie. Or that's how the MGM employees now feel anyway. And the MGM employees and sources that I speak to, they feel like they've been lied to. And they're now very worried that actually MGM as an entity is purely going to be absorbed into Amazon Pictures, that their headquarters will be closed and so on and so on. And that actually Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi, who were standing up against this and were pushing back against Amazon and maybe trying to get them to follow through some of their promises, were forced out because of this new plan that they're blaming on the pandemic. For me, it basically comes down to this isn't really going to affect the Stargate's return too much. Only in that it's not going to come as quickly as we thought. The people that were in charge, the people that Brad Wright has been talking to, the project up till now is purely based within MGM's buildings, MGM buildings that may not be there for much longer. There is very much a strong feeling within MGM that they are going to be dismantled. That Amazon Pictures are only interested in the names of the things they own, the intellectual properties. That's all going to be absorbed into Amazon Pictures, and Amazon Pictures will be making those movies, not MGM, even though MGM's name might be on it. So from a Stargate point of view, this really puts everything on complete hold. We now have to wait. Instead of just allowing MGM to crack on with something it had already been working towards, we're going to have to wait for Amazon to now go through and restructure MGM. They're going to have to absorb all it in and basically start the process again. That's the problem that we have, and that is the position we're in at the moment. MGM employees are furious. Apparently, Michael DeLuca, the motion picture thing, is going to be walking and moving over to Warner Brothers. And apparently he put feelers out to Warner Brothers anything up to a year ago. So even when he was telling MGM employees through memos not to worry, he was already looking for his way out and already looking for his next job. So he saw this coming. I always think the people at the top, though, they tend to see these things coming and they're not stupid. So where does that leave us with at the moment? It's really what we thought about a year ago. Amazon were telling us all this stuff, but it's really what we feared when Amazon first bought MGM, that they would just tear it apart, they would just use the intellectual properties, and they would just do what they want with it. But then they told us that that's not what they were going to do. They promised that's not what they were going to do. But they've shown their true colours. For Stargate, as I say, it just means we're going to have to wait a bit longer. And it really puts at threat whether the vision of Brad Wright is going to be allowed to continue, because that's been done with MGM. That's been planned for, and all the work has been done with MGM. The people at the MGM headquarters in Beverly Hills, those people may not be in jobs much longer. So how Amazon decide to do that, I don't know. But the big question is, will Amazon bring back Stargate? Of course they will. They are only interested in the intellectual properties. After James Bond, Stargate is their most profitable franchise. It is the most important intellectual property they own from a financial point of view. And let's be honest, these people are showing us over and over again that what they're really, really interested in is the cha-ching and the money. John C. There'll be a complete. Yeah, I think there will be. We're going to go and have a look at some of the comments now. Please, guys, get in the guys. Tell me what you think. And there will be a complete clear out of management now from top to bottom over the next year. I think it's going to take over a little. I think, yeah, that's how it's going to happen. Amazon didn't need to do this. They could have just funded MGM. They could have allowed MGM, which actually has been reasonably profitable in the last 5 years, to crack on and to expand and to have the people, these world-class storytellers that they kept telling us about, to do their job and to start telling something, to start actually making something really, really interesting. But instead, this is what they're going to do. Sci-fi universe, I predict it will be broken up with antitrust in 10 years. Well, it was the antitrust laws that, again, I was telling you about earlier that forced the cinemas to be separated from the 5 major studios a few years ago. At the moment, Amazon, compared to somebody like Disney and Fox, who obviously they bought Fox, is small fry. I'm not sure that Amazon are going to be targeted, other than the fact the government and people like the Federal Trade Commission aren't big fans of Amazon already. And they've already annoyed these government things with their other practices. But from an entertainment point of view, Disney is the company that I think antitrust laws will probably be aimed at over the next 10 years, because they're becoming too big, and streaming services, or Disney Plus, is overtaking almost everybody. HBO Max is the only one really that's competing with them at the moment. Netflix still has more subscribers, but that's because they've been doing it 10 years. They've actually plateaued and are decreasing, and their share price has decreased significantly, so they're also in trouble. I think Amazon were probably about third on the list for where the government might go in a few years for antitrust, and antitrust laws might be a risk of. So if they do it, we're talking at least a couple of years, time to come up with better stories, look at the positive. I would agree with that. I think I've said to you more than once on this channel, I'm not 100% convinced by Brad Wright's vision for this. And we know we haven't seen a lot of it, but from what he has said, I'm not hugely convinced by it. I don't mind if Brad Wright takes it back to the drawing board. He's already apparently rewritten the script at least once. It was written 3 years ago, and it was rewritten about 12 months ago. I think that was after Amazon got involved and basically said, look, you can think a lot bigger now. So I don't know if maybe we're going to, this might trigger that it ought to be looked at again. But yeah, I would say we're looking at a couple of years. I think initially 12 months ago, they were hoping to have Stargate on our screens by the summer next year. I think it'll be more likely the summer of the year after. Let's see what else. I can guarantee you Google has broken antitrust laws many times. 100% it has. Far out. Let's hope you don't dump Wright with a Kurtzman. Truly stuff up any Stargate. There has been lots of rumours that they want to replace Brad Wright with somebody with fresh blood. They keep saying fresh blood. Excuse me. Like they did with Star Trek. They brought in Kurtzman. Fresh blood. And look at the absolute crap show that is. I've just watched episode 9 of Picard. I did watch Strange New Worlds. I actually really like Strange New Worlds, guys. I thought it was good. I'm going to watch the last episode of Picard, and apparently that's where all the stuff happens in the last episode, so we'll see what happens there. But generally speaking, I hated new Star Trek. They keep changing things for the sake of it, and I do worry about Stargate. What if they decide to reimagine the gold, and they do a Klingons on it, and they just bring the gold, and they're just different? It'll still look like the gold, but it'll just be like tweaked, and just different. All the starships and things, there's the new designs and the things. I don't want to see it, but I think that's possibly what we're going to be, wrestling with, is that we're going to have to put up with the fact that there's new people in charge and new ideas and new blood, and that they're going to bring those ideas and they're going to try and freshen it up. And Brad Wright said it himself, we're going to have a show for a new generation. I just hope they don't forget us fans that actually care about canon while they're doing that. Darker Than Black. Honestly, I want them to continue Stargate with the while majority of characters with them are still able to continue acting. I really hope SGU and SG Atlantis. Guys, I've just done a video about SGU. It'll be out this week about where those actors are now. Could they come back? I'm going to be doing the same for Stargate Atlantis. Picard Series 2 is crap. Again, like I say, criminal. I've looked at all the actors and see where they are. I'll have that video out to you this week. Kevin McCabe, SGU isn't going to happen. Brad Wright's startup costs are huge. Yes, but he has also, Brad Wright has said, and Joseph Mosey has also said, that there will be a conclusion to Stargate Universe and Stargate Atlantis. There will be some sort of end to those stories. We're not going to get an SGU series. And if you want an SGU series, you just stop worrying about it. It's not going to happen. It would be massively expensive. What we could get is, as part of another series or part of another story, something happens where we maybe could rescue a couple of those people. Do something happens basically that we could find out what happened to SGU. And we'll find out where the Atlantis is and some of that. I would like to see whether there's something going to happen with the Wraith. I don't know. But it won't be an own series. What it will be, maybe, is as part of a bigger series, we'll get some sort of conclusion. And Brad Wright and Joseph Mosey said that's what they want to do. Hopefully, New Ben will respect the canon, possibly learn from Pamela's stuff up of New Trek. Traditionally, they don't. They don't. Somebody, you think about this in work, in jobs. Whenever, and I know from my point of view, whenever I get a new manager, they'll come in and they change things for the sake of it because they think they have to put their stamp on it. So stuff just gets changed all the time. We'll do it this way, we'll do it that way, because they're trying to put their stamp on what you do, and it almost always goes wrong, and almost always goes back to as it was before. Any new showrunner, if it's not Brad Wright, will want to do the same thing. But to be honest, Brad Wright will probably want to do that because, again, there's been a decade, but since SCU ended, he's going to want to freshen it up and change things. Shouldn't. Amazon could have funded MGM, true, but they represent competition with the Amazon brand. Well, no, they wouldn't because, I mean, to be honest, again, okay, it might be direct competition with MGM and Amazon Pictures. But that doesn't mean it would be competition in that respect because they wouldn't release movies at the same time for that because they'd have a parent company and say, well, look, we've got 2 big movies coming out. We're not releasing them the same weekend. So that removes that obstacle. And we would always, and it would be absorbed within the Amazon family. But big companies do have different brands within their family, and they don't necessarily compete with each other. They all do things that are slightly different. So they would create projects that were slightly different. I think, I think about like car companies. Sometimes car companies have 2 or 3 different badges, like Lexus and Toyota, and they have cars that are the same, but they have a slightly different perspective on them. One is more luxury, one is more economical, or whatever. They would do something similar. So they would have those brands doing slightly different sorts of projects so that they're not in direct competition with each other. I think over the ancients building the Stargate a catastrophe for the yeah, I would totally agree with that. I did a video a few months ago and I really was interested in, could we see an Ancients prequel series? It's a prequel series. Star Trek keeps doing prequel series. Even if we don't ask for it, they keep doing it. Stargate would actually be interesting to do a prequel series and go back to the Ancients. So I want to see him building the gates. Let's see what happens. Strange New World started good, but towards the end got stupid. Well, let's see what happens in the next episodes because a lot of people are going again very excited about Strange New Worlds. But I wanted to say it. Picard episode 1 was brilliant. Series 2 episode 1 was really, really good. I loved it. I love the Stargazer. I loved everything about that episode. I got very excited about it. I did a video about it. I told you. Episode 2, not so good. 3, not so, and it nosedived off a cliff. So, Strange New Worlds might, yeah. What do you think the new enemy should be and shouldn't be compared to what we know? At the moment, we don't necessarily know. There was a competing script that was going to be something based on the Anunnaki or another, and which is an ancient aliens theory about an alien race that conquered the Earth once. I don't think we'll see anything like that. I think we're going to see something that's quite homegrown initially and homegrown enemy, and then there'll be the technological points of Stargate where we left. And we've got to remember, it's been another 10 years, so we're going to advance another 10 years. We're going to need quite a big bad. We took on the All-Right and defeated them. We took on the Goa'uld and defeated them. We basically defeated the Goa'uld with sticks and shields, with almost no technology. We defeated the Goa'uld. The Lucian Alliance aren't going to be a threat. I would love to see like Anubis come back because he's died 2 or 3 times and he keeps coming back. But I'd love to see that. Or I'd love to see like a merger of 2 enemies, like the Wraith and the Goa'uld or something like that. But the Goa'uld actually could very easily come back because, they're a very intelligent species. An animal is no more a threat than when their back's against the wall, an injured animal. So there's lots and lots of things they could do, bringing back something that we've already seen. And then obviously it's just the imagination of something brand new. But it'd have to be a major threat, maybe something that comes from outside our galaxy. I'm telling you, bringing Kirk back to the second season of Strange New Worlds because they're getting ready to reboot the entire old series, and that would be a disaster. Sci-Fi Universe, I said exactly the same thing a few weeks ago. As soon as I realised that Kirk, was coming back for series 2, I'm asking why. Why are they doing that so soon? We've already seen from the adverts for what's going on in Strange New Worlds of Pike in the chair with the beep 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 thing, and all the scarred stuff. He's seen his future. Are they going to do another J.J. Abrams and change that future? They can't, surely, but for some reason, Pike's aware of it. Kirk coming back into that, I think, is massively risky. They could get away with it without peeing all over canon, but let's be honest, they won't because they don't care. So, yeah, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Wesley Crusher could not... That better not be a spoiler. Stormy, I just told you I haven't seen the 10th episode yet. If that's a spoiler, I'm going to hurt you. I will fly to America and I will hurt you. If Wesley Crusher is in episode 10 of Picard Series 2, I'm going to kill you. Furlings, I think, is a really good shout. I think that's a really good shout. It's something that we keep getting told about, and we keep thinking. And there's no, even though they were part of the species and that they were, they're a good guy. Where we think they're a good guy. I always think like Babylon 5 with the Vorlons, how they're supposed to be the good guys all the way through, and they were supposed to protect us, and then they twisted it at the end. Straczynski twisted it and made them a bad guy. I would love to see something like that with the Furlings. So they appear. We think they're all good and nice, and then a Marvel thing as well, where they are the bad guys, but they kind of it's right sort of thing what they're trying to do. So maybe they don't obviously copy immediately a Marvel thing of like I'm going to wipe out half the universe to save everybody, but you don't do that. But you could do something that's that they're coming with the best intentions, but those best intentions are going to wipe us out. Or, maybe they think humanity's not ready for space travel, so they decide we're not allowed it anymore, or something like that. But I'd love to see the space race. I'm seriously, Stormy. Seriously, if you've ruined that for me. Currently, they're being told that it's not going to be a reboot. It's not going to be a hard reboot. It will be a soft reboot in that it's new actors, new thing, even though a couple of actors might come back, but it's not going to be a hard reboot. But that only depends on whether Brad Wright stays in charge. If he doesn't, then anything's... That's my problem with this news, really, that all of a sudden anything is on the cards again. We were pretty sure we knew what was going to happen. Now, we've no clue, because this is all getting put back to the drawing board again. I don't know to see what happens. Benjamin, I'm in two minds about the post-disclosure Earth with Stargate, and that's what Brad Wright has said he wants to do. And I'm two minds about it. On one hand, I think it's the only thing that makes sense. Of course, it would have to be, known to the world now, because it doesn't make sense for it to still be a secret. But on the other hand, that makes it a lot more like Star Trek all of a sudden. Everybody knows, we've got spaceships flying around, it's not secret. The whole point of Stargate and what feel of Stargate was that it could actually be happening in the world. Under Cheyenne Mountain, there could really be a Stargate command. If they do a post-disclosure world, they've just got to do it really, really carefully so that they don't go silly with it, basically. And like I say, I want Stargate, not Star Trek. Stargate needs to survive an original Goa'uld, but mutated so they look cooler. Una, yeah, massive healing abilities. Yeah. They could find something that's related to the Goa'uld that's different, and that's why they're different. So we get that by thing. Because at the same time, I don't just want them to remake Stargate. I don't just want a new... Stargate Atlantis was different from Stargate SG-1. Stargate SGU was different from Stargate Atlantis, purposefully, because you do want something a bit different. It's a catch-22, isn't it? If they just do the same thing and don't change anything, it's boring. But we're going to demand something new. But at the same time, we're going to say, do not change too much. So it's a catch-22 for them. They've got to change something. From what I'm hearing, you've had some offers to buy Star Trek Paramount. They can't sell it because of Kurtzman. I think they wouldn't have a bomb. Welcome to Twitch. Thank you. Oh, I should have mentioned, by the way, that we are actually transmitting on Twitch today for the first time ever. So if you're not on Twitch, should be a link on the community page. I'll add it onto the Facebook page as well. So please go and join there. It's just another platform. I don't know how it works, but my son told me I've got to be on Twitch. So we're on Twitch. I hope your inside person in the studio doesn't leave due to the changes. Though I've got 5 people now I speak to that work in and around MGM. 3 of them are direct employees. One of them is quite a menial job. He hears a lot of what goes on because he's one of these people that's in and around lots of different bits. But he's not a skilled worker, so he'll go work anywhere. He's not bothered. The other 2 are actual creative people, so they are bothered. But they'll go and work for. I imagine they'll just be absorbed into Amazon Studios. But no, none of them are talking about leaving, as far as I know. But I know one person I speak to that works with a company that isn't MGM but is linked to MGM is looking, because he's worried that if MGM cuts their contracts and it all shifts to Amazon, their company will just, because the bulk of their work is MGM. Let's have a look what else is in. Kurtzman's under contract for 2026. That is 100% correct. Dax, hello, sir. Yes, Amazon Prime. Here in the UK, MGM already has a streaming service on Amazon. It costs £5 a month. A load of MGM movies are on there, and some TV series. Stargate was on there until recently, and they took it off. SG1 you can only get through Amazon Prime in the UK anyway, by paying for the series, but it's all on Sky for us, so it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, I think MGM will really push that as an element of thing. The problem with Amazon Prime's got is Disney Plus. Disney Plus have come in, and for less money than Amazon Prime, they have one channel. They will put movies on there and actually ask you to pay a bit more. But generally speaking, the movies go on there for free almost immediately. Well, not free, you pay the subscription, but within the normal channel. Fox is within it. Everything is under that umbrella of Disney Plus. So you've got a lot of entertainment there. Amazon Prime have tried to do it by creating little add-ons. So you pay for Amazon Prime, but then you pay for MGM, then you pay for Stars, then you pay for something else. And there's actually loads of channels on Amazon Prime. They're not going to be able to keep doing that, and people will get pissed off with it, basically, because they can go to Disney, and there's loads on Disney Plus you can watch, and new stuff every day. So they're not going to be able to keep doing it the way they're doing it at the moment. I didn't know that. I didn't know Twitch is owned by Amazon. I am a shill. I'm being paid for them. I got used to get called a shill a lot. Disney has Hulu. Isn't Hulu more of I don't really watch Hulu. I don't think we have that in the UK. Anyway, guys, that is the news. That's where we're at. Just to recap really quickly, the MGM employees and contacts I talked to are furious. They're worried for their jobs. They genuinely believe that MGM is going to be, as it exists at the moment, dissolved and just absorbed into Amazon. And Amazon, Mike Hopkins, the chief executive at Amazon Studios, has basically said exactly the same thing. He has said that Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi leaving paves the way for MGM to be absorbed into Amazon Prime and Amazon Movies. So for Stargate, that very clearly means we're not going to get Stargate as quickly as we thought we might. And that is a massive, massive shame, because I want this show on my screens now. I want a movie. I want a series. I want what I consider to be the biggest sci-fi franchise not on our screens today back. It should be back. It could be easily as big as Star Trek, as far as I'm concerned. It could be the sci-fi show that is the jewel in the crown for Prime and Amazon, if they really want it to be. So let's hope they crack on. So If you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe. If you are going to Twitch, Amazon, get on there and follow us on there as well. I'll be streaming all of these videos on there as well from now on. You can become a fully fledged side tracker. Please consider hitting the join button. And in the meantime, guys, please, everyone, stay safe. Enjoy the sun. It's come out for us here in the UK. Clouded over a little bit. I'm going to go have a barbecue with my family. Really, please, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you all really, really soon. I have to do the outro, which is there.